Hmm. Oh, let's see. I oh my goodness. Is anybody, I don't know. Really? Hmm. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I have no idea. Oh my gosh. Oh, what is going on?
One second. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. Just want to get this all opened up. Okay. Great. Okay. Shut that down. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble maneuvering my screen, so it'll just take a second. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the delay, but we do have 5 sessions of different topics. So it's good we got this set up, and I want to thank you so much for joining. And in this, hopefully this will lend some support, particularly during these challenging times that we're going through. And what I'd like to do is start with a motivation. And what I'm actually going to do is I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to just reflect on the words that I'm saying. This is actually the reason I'm reading this motivation, which some of you may do every morning, is this is one of the practices Lama Zopa Rinpoche recommends for us to do for the virus. So this is something Rinpoche's wanted us to do every morning, period. But he's now specifically put it on, it was one of the first things on the list. And now Rinpoche's added, Lama Zopa Rinpoche's added more things. So I just wanted to add that, and I just thought it would be a great way to start. And really, all it is called the method to transform a suffering life into happiness. I'm only going to read the first part of it. And the reason I wanted to read it, it's a scanning meditation of the Lam Rim. So this way, the Lam Rim is kind of what really helps us work with our mind. And it's the thing that is there when particularly when we hit challenging times. So some of you are familiar with the Lam Rim, great, but just close your eyes and I will read through this and you'll recognize different topics. And let's just use this as a springboard for the session today. And you can keep it in your heart as far as how I can reorient my mind in these challenging times so that I'm not one of the ones suffering from depression and anxiety and having that spill over. Instead, I'm more grounded and I can be a resource. Just think for your neighbors, your family, your community, like that. So just relax, close your eyes, and just reflect on what I'm saying. This is a direct meditation on the graduated path containing all the important meanings. Essence encompassing all the Buddhas, originator of all the holy Dharma of scripture and realization, principle of all the Aryas intending virtue, in the glorious holy Gurus, I take refuge. Please, Gurus, bless my mind to become Dharma, Dharma to become the path, and the path to be without obstacles. Until I achieve Buddhahood, please bless me to be like youthful Norzang and Bodhisattva always crying, to correctly follow the virtuous friend with pure thought and action, seeing whatever is done as pure and accomplishing whatever is said and advised. Please bless me to see this greatly meaningful body with freedoms and richnesses, is difficult to find and easily perishes, that action and result are so profound, and that the sufferings of the evil gone transmigratory beings are so difficult to bear. Therefore, please bless me to take refuge from the depths of my heart in the three rare sublime ones, to abandon negative karma and to accomplish virtue according to Dharma. In dependence upon that, even if I achieve the mere higher rebirth of a deva or human, I will still have to experience suffering endlessly in samsara because of not having abandoned and being under the control of the disturbing thought obscurations. Therefore, please bless me to reflect well upon the way of circling in samsara and to continuously follow day and night the path of the three types of precious trainings, the principal method for becoming free from samsara. In dependence upon that, even if I achieve mere liberation, since there is no sentient being of the six types who has not been my father and mother, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose and turn away from the lower happiness and nirvana. Then please bless me to generate precious bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others, and to follow the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the six paramitas, and so forth. Having trained my mind in the common path in that way, I will not be upset even if I have to experience the sufferings of samsara for a long time. However, please bless me to look at sentient beings with extraordinary unbearable compassion and to enter the quick path of the Vajrayana teachings. Then please bless me to protect my vows and samayas more than my life and to quickly accomplish the unified Vajradhara state in one brief lifetime of this degenerate time. May I not give rise to heresy for even a second in regard to the actions of the glorious Guru. May I see whatever actions are done as pure. With this devotion, may I receive the Guru's blessings in my heart. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus seat at my heart, guide me with your great kindness, and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. From this place, even if you don't have a particular teacher, guru, I'd like you to imagine over the crown of your head is a radiant white light that represents this being. It represents all of the goodness in the world. I'd like you to imagine that radiant light now dissolving into your crown and melting to your heart. And it merges with your own goodness, which is a place we are always operating from, our fundamental goodness. It's always a space you can get in touch with. And when you feel that you're getting toppled and things become too overwhelming, return to that seed in your heart that's connected to that full manifestation of what our teachers represent, especially the highly qualified gurus like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, of that full manifestation of wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, all the good qualities that you can also develop in yourself. And I'd like you to recall for a moment right now, I want you to reflect on a recent moment you can recall. Might have been a week or two ago, a month ago, maybe something today. Or recall a holiday you had, you were enormously blissful on this holiday. Some very happy moment in your life. And I'd like you, as much as you can right now, to place yourself back in that situation as best as you can. Try to get a sense in the situation of the scene around you. For instance, what does it feel like in that situation? Are you with other people? And if so, who are you with? Are you inside or outside? What do you recall of the air temperature around you? The sights and smells, sounds? Try to bring up everything coming in from the sense faculties of this very blissful moment you can recall. So this moment is always there in your mind, in your memory. We will have moments like this again. Even if we're not traversing through one of these moments right now. But it's helpful to have some positive cushions to support yourself. And so from this place and from our motivation, think of all the advantages we have right now compared to many other people on the planet. Because we have such a great opportunity. We have food, shelter, and clothing. So it's from this place, think about our time together right now to explore compassion a little more fully. A little time to look at some of the 8 verses of mind training, meaning how do I orient my mind during this time right now? What might be better, a better way of thinking? So through this work, let's use this to motivate our practice, helping us to move along that path to full awakening. because then we're unlimited in how we can help all others. So it's for that purpose, to really benefit as many beings as possible, that we will get together right now. So please relax, and slowly you can open your eyes. So with a way we can practice with compassion, how to build compassion, and also how to get our mind oriented. This was going to be a longer class, so we won't get to everything we were going to talk about, but that's fine because we can do more in the future. Like that. And there is this really nice practice that you now have, this Chenrezig practice. It's very simple. But if occasionally through your week you're kind of struggling, go back to this practice. And you can even read at the end of the practice are the 8 verses for mind training. Lojong, one of the famous lojong texts. We can go back and get connected to that. Okay. So I just want to start. If you can find that document, if it's possible for you to open. If not, I'm going to read. So just relax. We're going to go back to this Chenrezig practice later. The 8 verses for training the mind, Geshe Langri Tangpa. And the first verse, just have a look at the first verse if you have it in front of you, and I'll read. With the heartfelt desire and determination to attain enlightenment for the welfare of all living beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, for accomplishing the supreme goal, may I always cherish them and hold them dear. And I'll give one of the ways, a new translation for Rinpoche is, determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. And Rinpoche's changed this last wording, I hold them most dear at all times. Okay, so here's a way right now, just taking this verse, I hold them most dear at all times. What happens right now, and I'm not exactly sure how, a number of you are in Florida. I'm just looking at the different people that we have. A number of you may be elsewhere, okay? Just as a feed-in right now to Florida, if somebody wants to unmute their mic, maybe Nicole does that. I'm just curious right now, are you isolating at home? Are you allowed to go out? Are you still moving around? Are restaurants closed? Can anybody give me a little check-in on?
Well, we're allowed to be outside. We're in Naples, Florida. So there's people bicycling and walking. They took every other net down for the sports. You can still play golf, 1 per cart, unless you're a family member. You don't feel the same stress because you're in the sun. The public pools are closed, but people have their own pools at home. Okay. All the restaurants are closed except takeout. You can do takeout.
Okay.
So
that's somewhat similar to what's happening in Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area. So about this thank you very much, Maureen. Holding others most dear is when you're in your own thing, and if your family gets a bit stressed, your kids, your partner, it's in a sense of let's focus on others for a change instead of just what we need. There's been a big issue, as you've heard in the country, obviously, about the hoarders. And, I was in the store the other day, and it was kind of kind where I could see a guy was ready to buy the 2 massive toilet paper things, and a woman came up, and then he just handed one to her. Like I'm holding others most dear. This is the source of my happiness. Okay. I'd also like to give a major shout out right now to 2 people I see on the screen, and there may be more. Gina and Lisa are healthcare workers. So they are right in there, right you know, up close and personal. I can't really thank them enough for risking their own health and showing up every day to take care of other people. And I can't imagine how intense. So there's people like, so if I just expand my thinking, this is about your thinking. How are you thinking? Mind training. If I can expand my thinking to, well, what's it like to be a nurse right now? What's it like to be an EMT? And what are they having to do to take people that might be infected to the hospital, and how they're having to do all these extra things right now in their work to clean down an ambulance and to clean down extra cleaning to do something, and how, and then some of them are going home to families. So trying not to infect their families. And yet the stress that I'm hearing from healthcare workers, their own stress is huge. So do you ever think to reach out and call one of them that you might know and just say, hey, I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. You know, so this is a way, these are the people, this is the source of your happiness. So there's many people. So one of the things I've been doing, and I have to say, there's some people I know, and it may be some of you, hunkered down. And some people have said to me, I'm kind of happy right now because I've suddenly got space. Like I can't work and I can't do this, and they're doing more practice, which is a great way to orient it as opposed to just streaming Netflix, right? So that's impressive. Yet there's some of you that may have been laid off, that may not be able to work from home, that may not have had work to begin with, that are struggling paycheck to paycheck. There's a number of people in my area that I know like this. And so what I've done is, and there's some elderly people I know in remote areas. So I pick up the phone and I call them. You know, I send an email, how's it going? Just so we all, because we're all interconnected. We're all interconnected. Now from a compassion course, I led at, whoops, let me get the right thing up. No, I don't need an Excel document right now. Okay. Okay. From a compassion course I led, I think before a Tupten Kunga, I just want to read again. And compassion, the meaning of compassion from the Latin root literally means to suffer with, to suffer with. In Tibetan, ninje, which literally means the king of heart. That's how they technically, etymologically, call what they call compassion. So in the Tibetan system, it gives you an idea of the priority that we accord to compassion, the king of heart. This is the main thing we have to be focusing on right now. Tomorrow is more about self-compassion, tomorrow's talk. I may discuss some of the same things, but tomorrow's more about, okay, how do I take care of myself? But one way right now is how do we take care of others, and when I do get overwhelmed, I'll talk a little bit about that, but mainly this is how important it is for us to start focusing our mind on others as much as we can. It's also a source of your happiness, okay? So again, to suffer with, I'm not shying away. I have a neighbor who just lost her husband suddenly across the street. She's elderly. So it would be easy for me to say, oh, well, we're isolating, so I don't need to talk to her because it's uncomfortable. But so no, when I got back from the last trip, which was well over a week ago before we were all isolating, I went over and I stopped in, but I actually called her 2 days ago to check back with her. And I just said, I didn't want to knock on your door again, because I didn't want you to be worried that I'm too close, you know, that, and, but do you need anything? I'm right across the street. Please, here's my phone number, whatever you need, just call me. I can run out and get errands, and I can drop stuff on your front step. So it's more of a time, I think we need to connect like that in a healthy way, and not coming on to somebody with panic. And I saw this in the news, and it in a hysterical way, but how can I be the ground for people? I think is really helpful, because it does seem to calm people down, and the listening to them of what they want to talk about. And then can you pose a very grounded, calm way that you're interposing, kind of interrupting if they're in any kind of hysterical state like that. So I wanted to just read this quote again from His Holiness the Karmapa. And he has this book called, it came out a few years ago, called Interconnected, Embracing Life in Our Global Society. I just want you to focus, just reflect, and if you'd like, you can close your eyes and just listen to this, what he says about freedom. It is possible and realistic for every person to experience real freedom. The reason we have not managed to do so is we lack an understanding of what real freedom is and how it can be achieved. We need the wisdom to distinguish the egocentric pursuit of self-interest from the pursuit of authentic freedom. When I hear what people say about freedom, sometimes it sounds to me like longing to live out the fantasy of being independent and absolutely autonomous individuals, of being free of consequences and responsibilities. So in a sense, exempt from the principle of interdependence. His Holiness the Karmapa goes on, there is no such thing. We cannot exist outside causality, karma, or outside the connections of interdependence. And so freedom cannot be a matter of escaping those connections. Only freedom developed on the basis of a realistic view of who we are and how we relate to others can be authentic and extended universally to all. So he goes on, if we acknowledge our interdependence again, not independence, interdependence, and take into account the vast networks of interconnections in which our lives and actions are embedded, we will find that our own freedom is inseparable from the freedom of all other people. When we truly appreciate this fact, we experience interdependent freedom, a freedom that does not detract from others' freedom. This is the freedom we can all enjoy without conflict. We can all enjoy it together without conflict. So just in thinking about that in this interesting time when we are self-isolating. Okay, so here we are separate, and here suddenly all of us come together. So it's a great way to think if you are going out to the store, okay, before you go out to the store, or while I was in the store the other day, I texted 2 elderly neighbors. I'm here right now. Would you like anything? I'm happy to bring it back for you. And they're like, oh yeah, if you're in the store, yes, thank you. So rather than it just me going to the store for what I need, can I go to the store? We also have a food bank near me. So a number of you have food banks, I'm sure, in your area. The food banks, the purpose of them is that the people I'm really, really concerned with now are the poor people in our areas. And the fact that, you know, the virus is moving into Africa, and I'm not really sure what they're going to do in Africa. But the fortunate thing about the virus is more people survive it than pass away from it. It's not a death sentence necessarily, unlike HIV, initially, the initial stages of HIV or Ebola or things like that. So if I can think about the food bank are feeding people that right now don't have any cushion of savings, don't have jobs, don't have the money. Their kids go to school and get breakfast and lunch there. So great, can I buy an extra can and drop it at the food bank? As long as we're able to do stuff like that, and the food bank is open right now in my area, can I buy an extra can of something? Can I buy an extra whatever it is and can I buy an extra bag of groceries and drop it at the food bank? So it's again, this expansive way, cherishing others because they are the most precious, and they're the ones, it's through them that I'm actually going to get enlightened and get free. Okay, let me go to the next verse. Okay. Verse number 2, the 8 verses. Whenever I am with others, may I think of myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depths of my heart, hold others as supreme. Okay? May I respectfully hold others as supreme. This is not about that getting down on yourself and that you're not worthy at all. This is simply about building humility. Can I build humility? Some of us are doing quite well right now and not really affected as much with what's happening. Our lives haven't changed that much. But the humility, and if you want to talk to, like, the two of the people on here is Lisa and Gina, who are sitting here right now with us, of experiencing a little bit of their experiences of what it's like to provide emergency care or working in a hospital right now. The humbling that goes on of the people that are coming in, freaked out, sick. The issue is there's people coming in that it's not a virus related thing, and they're not able to get the treatment they need for whatever other ailment or chronic illness they've got. So this is about humility and realizing I'm not any better than anyone else. And maybe I have some better situation. If that's the case, how do I share that with others? You know, basically the fundamental thing is we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. All of us want the same thing. So if we get into that space, how can I not consider others like that? You know, and the other thing is some people I know, and I have no idea how you're politically aligned, and it really doesn't matter, right? But people watch the news a lot, okay? And occasionally you're going to see our leader come on the news with a statement. And I know some people have come to me and said it's been very challenging like that. And I just want to say that Donald Trump, wants to be happy and he doesn't want to suffer. Just imagine right now, if you get angry and you start coming from this place of anger at him, and first of all, how does it help your mind? Please check. I find it constricts my whole heart experience here, making everything very tight. Anytime a thought of irritation, frustration, annoyance, and then I'm going to get bigger, anger, I'm going to get even bigger, hatred comes into my mind, it shrinks that space in my mind, that nice, open, grounded, peaceful, calm space that is the true nature of my mind. So if I want to allow those illusions to fly through, it interrupts compassionate experiences for me. Okay. How can we not right now have compassion for him? Would you want to be president of the United States during something like this? I couldn't think of my worst nightmare. I couldn't think of my worst nightmare. All the leaders are scrambling. All of them don't really know what to do. So you know what? They're doing the best they can. And they really are doing the best they can with whatever skill set they personally have. If somebody has less of a skill set, perhaps they're going to operate from that. Somebody has more of a skill set, they operate from there. It depends on who's around them, who's advising them. So for me to continue to find fault, okay, only closes up the space in my heart. It does nothing for them, and all it does is it sends a ripple of my constricted space out, right, to that affects anybody that's around me. Okay, so the main thing is, how do we keep the heart open in that space of considering we are the same. We are the same. We want to be happy. We don't want to suffer. We've also made big mistakes in our lives. Okay, we didn't do it intentionally. We did it because of our ignorance, because we didn't know, because we were toppled by a delusion, right? We got angry at somebody, so we did something, we snapped at them. We had fearful about something, so we responded in that way, negatively. We were grasping at somebody, again, another negative response. Okay, so in that way, it's helpful to think about we're not really that different than that. And I just think if I can show some compassion towards the leaders in the world right now, just send that out there. It's another little pocket of peace that goes out, which is what we all really need right now. Okay, let me look at this next verse. Number 3. In all actions, may I closely examine my state of mind, and the moment a disturbing emotion or negative attitude arises, since this may cause harm to myself and others, may I firmly face and avert it. And this is about vigilance of your mind. Vigilance of your mind. This is kind of fundamental Buddhist practice. it's so helpful, and it is related to the big mindfulness movement right now in the States. This vigilance, as soon as a imbalanced experience comes into my mind, we would call it delusion, disturbing thoughts. So we have a lot of them coming in right now. A lot of people I know are afraid. And then a lot of people, if they are watching the news, they start mouthing off and opinions about this person and that person in a negative way, like that. So extremely vigilant can you be? And watch with your family and your friends, your community, you know, extremely vigilant when people like to get into gossip situations, meaning they will hear something. Somebody just sent me an email the other day that was really hysterical, like not in a good way, hysterical, very dramatic and desperate. And and she's sending this out to several people that kind of is almost saying like, you better get out to the grocery store right now because they're all closing down. Well, they're not all closing down. Okay. So people got that and they got all hysterical. And so I think if you notice something like that arising in your mind, watch it for a moment. Just watch the bubbles arise. You want to have a strong negative opinion about somebody. Just, can you stop for a moment and observe that? Observe that bubble coming up. Can I just stay there with it through a few breaths? I inhale. I exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I'm just watching it. And you know what? I'm deciding in the third breath, I really don't need to open my mouth right now to the person next to me or the person that's living in my house with me. Like, does this have any benefit for me to share this with them? No, you know what? I'm taking care of my mind right now. Taking care of my mind right now. And what I'm going to do is I notice fear coming up in my mind. So I'm going to take a couple deep breaths. And it's great when you start really watching your mind like this, because you're using your breath and it starts triggering you to take a deep breath when you practice it, rather than triggering you to open your mouth and then vomit that negativity onto somebody else. So again, I take a deep breath. I notice constriction in my mind, constriction in my heart, and that triggers me to take some deep breathing. And in that space, the mind starts opening up. And then I say, okay, fear. I feel really anxious right now. Okay, what's an antidote to that? Because this is the verse about, as soon as the delusion appears in my mind, be vigilant and apply whatever antidote I can do. Okay, so fear. What do you do with fear? Let's look with that fear. We analyze in Tibetan Buddhism. We analyze. Okay, so you say, well, I'm afraid the stores are going to close. Okay, okay, what can you do about it? Take action. You go out. You can still go out to the store, I believe, right? You buy whatever you need. Some of you have pantries, and maybe you choose to buy some extra things for the pantries. You load up with some non-perishables. You get whatever you need, whatever you feel, and fine. And then you're home. There's nothing else you can do about it. You've got that. You pack your freezer. You do your thing like that. There's enough food on the planet, and we will be able to get food. They will find a way to get us food like that. I ordered something that was delivered the other day, a food item that instead of, I'm like, I'll just order it. Okay. And then you worry, but the box might be contaminated. What would you like to do about it? Again, fear comes up. What would you like to do? And I'll have to get Gina and Lisa to pipe in later about if there are other practices that are for hygiene. But what I did is I picked it up. Now you should get, they say you can bring it in with gloves, rubber gloves. I don't have rubber gloves. Okay, so instead of panicking, I picked it up, brought it in the house to a separate place I don't usually use, and then I got my alcohol out and I wiped down the entire outside of the box. Okay, then I washed my hands. Okay, then I opened the box, got the box, and then I took the box down into the garage where it gets recycled and dumped it there. Done. Then I washed my hands again. Okay, then I came up and I alcoholed the whole package that I got. What else can you do? Okay, but it reduces the fear because I'm taking action and analyzing what can I do, and then do it, and then let go and go back to your practice. Go back to the space of mind. I'm still okay. I'm fine. This is a virus that I did a coaching session yesterday with a friend in Liverpool, England, and he and his wife are pretty sure they had the virus. They're just recovering from it. They're in their 50s. They're in their late 50s, and they were not tested, but they stayed home, and they're pretty sure it sounded like all the symptoms, and they were a little bit wiped out for 3 days, and now they're recovering. So, you know, it's not like you get this thing and then it's horrible. It's just you get it, you stay home, you recover, and fortunately you don't spread it to anyone else, and fortunately you don't have any extenuating circumstances that would make it difficult for you to recover like that. But the guy of the couple, male-female couple, the guy has some other health issues, and he's recovering. He was fine yesterday talking, and he said he felt his energy coming back and like that. So, you know, that's, let's say if you want to analyze your fear, could that be a worst case scenario for you in your home? It's not what you want to have happen, but again, people recover like that. So this is a way to go in and analyze, apply the antidote, being vigilant with your mind, apply the antidote, use your breathing. And I like to go back to my practice right now because Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and you can find this on the FPMT website. I think Thupten Khonga Center has sent announcements out of what Rinpoche is recommending people do. He also has recorded a 1-hour video. I can't really stress how wonderful it is to watch it. And the reason is Rinpoche is giving you oral transmissions of some of the practices he's advising you to do. So some of them involve longer mantras that may be confusing. So if in the future it's worthwhile for any of you, I'm happy to do those with you, and we could set up a Zoom session to do some practices together. I found if you have a little bit more time and you do some of the practices, you feel like you're doing something. I feel like we have to do internal work that informs the external work. My external work meaning I wipe down my packages with alcohol, and I'm trying to help my neighbors, and you know, my internal work has to happen as well, because that keeps me balanced, spacious, calm, like that. Make sense? Are we communicating? Okay. So again, these practices have really helped me be buoyant. And the thing is, a couple of them I've been doing for quite a long time in my life, generally. They're actually very, very powerful for ill health, period. I know people that did them for cancer that had great results with their cancer as far as their cancer diminishing. And so they're super powerful practices to do anyway that you might want to familiarize yourself with for the future. So there you have Rinpoche first giving you the oral transmission, which means it's called a lojong, oral transmission. He says that if you listen attentively to the 1-hour video, I think it's about an hour, he says you will get that oral transmission, and that empowers the mantras you're going to do. It makes it stronger, meaning of the practice that you're going to do. So I just wanted to mention that. So let's work on our vigilance when, you know, a delusion. And somebody said to me the other day, they called me because suddenly we have time, some of us have time to talk to each other. And a friend called, and then she started to get into some gossip about somebody, about non-virus related. And she just said to me something about, she goes, well, this is kind of gossipy. And then I right away, she's not a Buddhist, but I right away said, well, you know, let's talk about something else. Like, that's me being vigilant of like, you know, I could have gotten into, what was it about that person? But why do we need to go there? It's kind of useless verbal space. There's better things to talk about. Like a little bit of, I'm trying to convince her to get her husband to close their food manufacturing plant, which is still open now. And they're saying like, no, but everybody needs pasta sauce, you know? And I'm like, how many people are working there that are, you know? So, okay, let's look at number 4. Okay, Whenever I meet people of unpleasant character or those overwhelmed by negativity, pain, or suffering, may I cherish and care for them as if I had found a rare and precious treasure difficult to find. Okay? So we might be focused right now. Some people might be focused on any world leader, particular world leaders that you feel are not doing it very well. It could be a governor of a state. It could be a local representative. I noticed my particular 3-county region in Pennsylvania had a telephone town talk the other night that I listened to for an hour. And it was just audio. And unfortunately, one of the people presenting, I didn't find was very knowledgeable compared to the other people. So my mind popped up with, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. And you can kind of go into that space. But once again, if you look at this verse, when I meet people, unpleasant character, okay, did I ever think that this person might be overwhelmed by negativity, pain, or suffering? That's an interesting space. No, I'm just concerned with how it's coming into my ear, the organ, and then my auditory sense faculty. Oh, I don't like what they're saying. But they're struggling to try to respond to this disaster and this stuff. They're struggling. It was nice that they held a 1-hour talk to let us know what's going on. It was very informative. It was very helpful. And it was nice that this person showed up to try to give information. So again, I didn't consider that they might be overwhelmed by negativity, pain, or suffering, or that their particular work office is inundated with phone calls. People are worried about working there. Now they're closed, so everybody's working at home. Okay, so can I cherish and care for them? Here's our compassion again, as if I'd found a rare, precious treasure. Can I try to, this is the big mind training turn. Can I, instead of making them an adversary, can I look at them from this space of their own suffering? Okay, and compassion is, I want them to be free of suffering. That's my wish. I want them to be free of suffering. How can I look at this leader, governor, mayor, whomever it is, your county official, the head of your hospital, the head of the public health, and my county doesn't even have a public health department. So fortunately, they're now coupling with a richer county that has a very nicely set up public health. So perfect. So all those officials were part of that to put that together for us. Very grateful. So could I just look at them and look at this person that I'm finding very challenging right now and unpleasant as a precious jewel? Why? They help you transform your mind-heart experience into something open. Because I have to consider their pain and their suffering, their confusion. Oh my goodness. What would it be like to be them, okay? Let's go back to the fundamental kind of secret teaching of how to develop bodhicitta, this totality heart, the heart fully open, okay? One of the secret teaching was equalizing and exchanging self with others. So if I go back to that, what would it be like to be that county official? What would it be like to be the president of the United States right now? Or your governor? Or the head of your hospital? Or the head of your department at work when the office is going to close? What are you facing? So suddenly it's like, wow, I really need to help those people. I need to be as peaceful as possible and basically keep myself out of the mess and keep my mind in a calm, buoyant place so I am less of a problem to all of these beings. So that's something we can practice. And can I find a way to cherish this being? Because it's through cherishing them, my heart stays open, and that leads me to enlightenment, where then I can benefit all living beings. If I want to cast them out of my heart and not cherish them, I'm preventing that opportunity for myself. So again, it's this person that actually lets me practice more, okay? It's this person I need to practice patience. In fact, I'm not going to perfect patience without a person like this in my life without a challenging person like this. So aren't they really precious for me by giving me that opportunity? Again, transforming our minds into a totally different view. You try your best. Number 5, number 5 is a kind of the crux of some of the lojong mind training practices, kind of the heart here. When others, this is the verse, when others, because of their jealousy, treat me badly with abuse, slander, or in other unjust ways, may I accept this defeat myself and offer the victory to others. So it could, we say jealousy, but it could be any delusion that somebody harms, and in our cases, it could be a county official, some leader that's making a decision we don't agree with, and we feel it's harming us. This is harming us. Some people felt that, I'll put it this way, England seemed to have a unique response to the virus. They have this feeling that through their scientists and stuff, they felt like if 60% of the population slowly gets the virus, then they'll build up a long-term immunity, which could work right now. But the problem is they're vulnerable population, and they're not completely prepared for that. So now they've decided later than us to self-isolate, and they were a little late on the draw of closing everything. And I have to say, my family in England, they know a lot of people with the virus, recovering from the virus. I just mentioned my friends in Liverpool. There's a lot of people they know. I only know 2 people that may have had it, and I don't know that officially. There are people with flu right now, and I know a couple of them in the States that got tested and they did not have the virus. So you can't just say because they have the flu, but they actually know people that were tested that have the virus. So it's obviously more spread there more. So if somebody's making a decision that you think is harmful, there are times when, if you notice you're ranting and railing against them and over, and maybe you're spewing it through your household, and it's making somebody else tense and upset, and sometimes better to let go. This is a big verse of not necessarily that you're doing something wrong if somebody attacks you. If you do offer the victory and say, okay, we'll do it your way, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're agreeing and thinking they're right. It's about diffusing tension and hostility by offering the victory. And I've mentioned this before in my own life. I gave an example of a woman came to our center in California, retreater for 3 weeks. She stayed with us, and we noticed as the first week went on, she was extremely challenging to host. She was in her own private retreat cabin where normally people, they're in the cabins, they don't necessarily mix with everyone, and food is delivered to them. They come down occasionally to use the library, they go out for walks, but they're usually on their own. And it was a continual, several times a day, a problem with a lot of accusations at the staff. And at the end, she demanded to see the director, who was myself at the time, and I met with her. And the staff had told me through the weeks what was going on with her, and they didn't know what else to do for her because nothing was right. So finally I met with her, and she came in and started with a major attack on the center and the staff and how horrible it was and how we did nothing for her of what she expected. So she wanted to fight, and I did not feel that we did anything wrong. Our staff was fantastic at the time, really trying to support her. And so I immediately apologized. And because what I was really sorry for is that it didn't meet her expectation and that she was unhappy. But I didn't say it like that. I just said, I am so sorry for whatever we were unable to meet for you, whatever did not work out for you. I'm so sorry it did not meet at all your expectation and that you're upset, and on and on. And she was speechless. She didn't know what to say because she expected me to be denying And I just gave it to her. And I just said, gave her the victory. I'm so sorry this did not work out for you. I'm so sorry you're upset. I'm so sorry we could not meet the expectations. What do you say to that when somebody really apologizes? So she was a little bit speechless, and then we started talking and we found something in common. And suddenly a healthy relationship started to ensue. And I could see somehow we started talking about what we had in common. And by the end of this like hour-long talk, I spent an hour with her. At the end of the hour talk, and I offered her her money back for the entire retreat. And she was so surprised, she ended up saying, no, she doesn't need it back. And then she made a donation to the center. So anything can be resolvable. And I do find that offering the victory is all about countering the hostility and the anger that tends to, and whatever delusion is climbing up. And if somebody is jealous and they're attacking you, offering that victory can just, it totally diffuses all the tension like that. Okay, we're going to stop there and go to our practice, our Chenrezig practice. And then we're going to get back to the other verses. And let me just find, if you have the practice, if not, you are welcome to close your eyes. I'm going to read through. And what I'd like you to do is first, I'm going to read a visualization of the Buddha of Infinite Compassion, Chenrezig. Anytime you would like to develop more compassion in your heart, this is a lovely practice, very simple practice, to just call up that. Chenrezig is simply an external manifestation of the highest level of your wisdom and compassion, and mainly focused on compassion. So if you want to call up that highest level of compassion in yourself and connect with that, you might want to ask for a kind of external virtuous friend. And one form of that friend could be this Buddha. This is a 4-armed version. There's many different versions of the Buddha of compassion. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, is said to be an embodiment of the 1,000-armed Chenrezig, 1,000-armed Buddha of compassion. And if you happen to have the practice in front of you, where the first page says Meditation on Chenrezig, this was taken from something I did a few years ago in New York. It was easy to grab this booklet. Is you see the mantras, the syllables on the left side in black and white under Meditation on Chenrezig. That's his simple mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. And it starts at the top is Om. And if you go to the right is the syllable Ma, and then Ni, which is kind of partly upside down. The very bottom at 6 o'clock, Om Mani is Pe, Peme, like a palm, Peme Hung, as you go right around clockwise. And in the center is his seed syllable, the syllable Shri, which sometimes is spelled H-R-I-H. So I just wanted to orient you with the Tibetan syllables of his mantra, Om Mani. And sometimes you see it written Om Mani Padme Hung. The Tibetans usually say Peme. So Peme means lotus. Mani is jewel. So if you want to take the very simple essence of this mantra, you could look at the all of the universe is like a jewel in the lotus of my heart. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's one of our simplest mantras. It happens to also be in one of the practices, yet again, Rinpoche is recommending we do right now for this challenging time. So it's a wonderful, easy mantra to learn, to do. Many of you do it, and it's connected to this color picture of the 4-armed version of the Buddha of Infinite Compassion. So just relax, sit back. Let me read the visualization. As you close your eyes, you can just focus on this. Imagine in the space before you, so a few feet in the space in front of you, slightly higher than the level of your forehead. Imagine a beautiful open white lotus flower in the nature of radiant light. In the center of this lotus is a moon disk lying flat. In the center of this moon disk arises this beautiful form of the Buddha of infinite compassion, Chenrezig. Chenrezig is Tibetan. In Sanskrit, sometimes you may have heard of Avalokiteshvara. He's the embodiment of all the Buddha's infinite compassion. He is crystal white in color with one face and 4 arms. The first 2 hands are joined together at his heart, holding a wish-fulfilling gem. His second right hand holds a crystal rosary, and his second left hand holds a white lotus. He's seated in the full Vajra posture, meaning his legs are crossed in that position, and he's draped in beautiful fine silk garments and adorned with precious jewels and ornaments. As best as you can, try to visualize him there, or just get a sense that he's there in the space in front, in the nature. Everything is in the nature of light. And imagine at his 3 places, which is his crown, his throat, and his heart, are 3 syllables, Om, Ah, and Hong. So you can visualize a white Om at his crown, O-M, standing upright, or you can visualize that syllable of Om in the nature of white light. Ah, you can visualize a red A-H at his throat in the nature of red light, and at his heart a blue Hong, H-U-M. And imagine light emanates from these 3 syllables, and they're inviting all, and going out to the 10 directions, inviting all the blessings and realizations of all the holy beings, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and hooking back this divine energy. And imagine all these beautiful light rays come back right into the center of Chenrezig's heart, and those 3 syllables, fully empowering him. And you can also imagine he is inseparable from any particular teacher, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Lama Zopa Rinpoche you'd like to envision. And they are all inseparable from the Buddha of compassion and the 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. All of this energy is there. Beautiful, perfect, pure, clearing and calming energy in the space in front of you. There is good energy always on the planet, and anytime we choose to connect with it. So the more we do practices like this, I think the more it puts us in touch with that energy, and we can call upon it more quickly. If you would like now, on page 3 in the document, if you have it, the second paragraph is taking refuge in generating the altruistic intention, bodhicitta. So if you'd like, you can join and we can recite 3 times together. And just thinking about, could this Buddha of compassion really be a source of protection for me from more suffering? And if you feel to connect there from your heart, great. And we'll recite 3 times. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all living beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all living beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all living beings. The 4 immeasurables are next. This is a little bit longer version. And when we say guru deity, we're talking about Chenrezig, again, inseparable from any particular teacher or any particular being that represents all that infinite compassion to you, that's inseparable from Chenrezig, deity, the Buddha of infinite compassion. And what I'd like you to do, you can either close your eyes and reflect on what I'm saying, or you can read with me. And these are immeasurable because of, we don't want to limit, and this is the order that they're in, we don't want to limit immeasurable equanimity, immeasurable love, immeasurable compassion, or immeasurable joy. We don't want to limit that, sending that out to the planet. And we also don't want to limit because it goes to countless living beings. We're going to send it out to now, just imagining countless living beings, numberless, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says. So let's just sending this out to the planet. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free from attachment and hatred. May they abide in equanimity. I shall bring about this. Please, Guru Deity, inspire me to be able to do this. And take a deep breath and let that sink in. We can do this. Next verse. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness in its cause. May they have happiness in its cause. I shall bring about this. Please, Guru Deity, inspire me to be able to do this. Breathe that in and let that empower you with incredible loving kindness. We can spread that out in the world. Next verse. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and its cause. May they be free from suffering and its cause. I shall bring about this. Please, Guru Deity, inspire me to be able to do this. Last verse. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from higher rebirth and liberation's excellent bliss. May they never be parted from these. I shall bring about this. Please, Guru Deity, inspire me to be able to do this. Imagine an amazing amount of joy going out to the planet, filling our hearts. And just checking in with our intention once again at the top of page 4. Just think, especially for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly in this very life attain the precious state of complete and perfect Buddhahood. Therefore, I shall practice the profound yoga of Guru Chenrezig. So we check back in, and especially with the words quickly. A lot of people need our help right now, okay? So can I kind of step up my practice a little bit? Can it motivate me to do a little bit extra practice right now? And if you get used to adding a little bit of 10 or 15 minutes in, let's say, right? Can I keep that going? Because don't we spend 10 or 15 minutes wasting time sometimes? So the 7-limb prayer is next. If you'd like to join, this is fantastic because these are just general things that are great to do every day for your practice. And thinking, reflecting on each of these lines, reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all living beings. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. The mandala offering is reminiscent of in ancient days when you would offer your most precious jewel, whatever it was, to get one little Dharma teaching. So we're going to imagine offering the universe. Some people put their hands, the mandala mudra, some of you know that. It's not necessary. But imagine the most incredible universe you can offer so that we can do this practice well together. We're kind of as a token offering like that. This ground, anointed with perfume, flowers strewn, Mount Meru, 4 lands, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the 3 poisonous minds. Visualizing that incredible, beautiful universe. On every atom or more universes, the finest quality offerings you can imagine, especially all the love you've ever experienced, all of your good fortune we offer. And we say at the end, please, Guru, please accept this precious mandala. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niratayami. Requesting prayer. This is a traditional one, which is on page 5. This is a beautiful prayer we actually chant when we do Nungnes, these 2.5-day retreats with fasting to the Buddha of compassion. And it's really heartfelt, and we don't realize the power of requests. So let's recite this together if you'd like to join in. And then what I'd like you to do at the end is really reflecting on that. Add in your mind whatever requests you'd like to add right now, okay? So, O Arya Chenrezig, as if you're talking to your most precious friend. You know, I need help right now, okay? As if they're really there. Treasure of compassion, please listen to me. I request you to guide me and all living beings of the 6 realms quickly from the great ocean of samsara. May the vast and profound peerless bodhicitta grow within my mind. With the tear of your great compassion, please cleanse all karmas and delusion. With your compassionate, loving hand, lead me and all migrators to fields of bliss. Please, Amitabha and Chenrezig, in all my lives be virtuous friends, show well the infallible pure path, and quickly place us in Buddha's state. Add whatever personal request you'd like to make right now in your mind and your heart. The special request, please, Guru Chenrezig, help me to generate infinite love and compassion. May the precious mind of enlightenment arise and grow within me now in this very session. So imagine and just reflect for a moment. I'll read this to you if you want to close your eyes. That the Buddha of infinite compassion, Chenrezig, in the space in front, now comes to the top of your head, over top your crown. He's about 6 inches in height. If you'd like to make him that size, if you need to make him larger, that's fine. And he's facing the same direction as you. And imagine that infinite numbers of this particular Buddha, Chenrezig, come to the tops of the heads of all living beings all over the planet right now. So if that's hard to visualize, just visualize him over top your crown, or any loved ones in your vicinity, or anybody in your household or in your community like that. And at the Chenrezig's heart on your crown, and all the Chenrezigs on the crowns of everyone, imagine a beautiful, tiny, white open lotus flower. And again, in the center, a moon disk lying flat. In the center of the moon disk, standing upright in the nature of white light, his seed syllable, Shri, H-R-I or H-R-I-H, it's the same. And this is the essence of Chenrezig's omniscient mind of wisdom and compassion. Around the edge of the moon disk, like a strand of radiant pearls, is Chenrezig's long mantra, and inside of that stands the 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and all of that is in the nature of radiant light. And just visualize as best as you can. And imagine now that from the mantra garlands and the Shri, the seed syllable in the center, infinite white light and nectar representing the nature of Chenrezig's blissful, omniscient mind begin to flow out, filling his entire body. And imagine it starts cascading out of every pore of his body, flowing down into your crown like a cascading waterfall of this pure, blissful, compassionate energy. Imagine it permeating your entire nervous system. And it totally purifies all disturbing attitudes, negative karmic imprints, diseases, obscuration. Imagine this radiant light grants all realizations, such as a loving, compassionate mind. As best as you can, feel completely pure and blissful as you do this visualization as best as you can. And it's, again, the light and nectar from the Chenrezigs on the crown of all living beings is flowing down into them and doing the same. Now I'm going to read and chant this long mantra one time on page 6, and then we can recite, and you're welcome to join me. And then with this visualization, as best as you can keep the visualization going, we can recite, and we'll do some chanting first of the 6-syllable mantra, and then we're going to recite some on our own. So that means because you're all in your own living room, you can actually say it out loud if you'd like that, which would be great. As long as you can keep the visualization going would be wonderful. Just try your best. Namo Radna Jayaya, Namo Ejnana Sagara, Perodzana Buharadzaya, Tatagataya, Arhate Samyak Sambudaya, Namo Sarva Tatagatabhye, Arhate Bhye, Samyak Sambudebhye, Namo Arya Avalokite, Shoraya Bodhisattvaya Ma Sattvaya Ma Karunikaya Dayata Om Dara Dara Diri Diri Duru Duru Itivate Taleta Pratale Pratale Kusume Kusume Bare Ili Mili Ziti Zola Apanae Soha. And the 6-syllable mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme. So please recite. I will be right back. Excuse me a moment. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So imagine you have definitely lessened any disturbing thoughts, anything that keeps you from opening your heart with more compassion, diseases, anything like that, completely eliminated and yourself reduced. Imagine that also happening for all the beings around the planet. And imagine the Chenrezigs on the crown of all living beings meld into light, absorbing into them, blessing them so they may progress along this path to enlightenment and be free of any disease, any disturbance whatsoever. And as you imagine the Chenrezig on your crown also dissolves into a radiant crystal drop of light. And imagine that melting into your crown, increasing your compassion. And think, I will live my life in a meaningful way and do all actions with the motivation to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. Chenrezig, extremely pleased there, who's dissolved into you. And imagine your body right now, pure and clear like a crystal. You can imagine your body dissolving from the edges into the center, completely dissolving. And any idea you have about emptiness, please think about that, reflect on that now. That any concrete notion of yourself is empty of any inherent independent nature. Anytime fear arises in your mind, it's empty of any inherent concreteness. Anytime agitation arises in your mind, it also is empty of any independent existence from its own side. That concrete independent notion you hold of yourself, that you hold of others, doesn't exist at all. And then slowly bringing yourself back into the space of your home, wherever you are right now, you appear in your ordinary form with a loving, compassionate mind. So please relax. You can open your eyes. This practice, we just did the short practice, that booklet you have. You can do that in a very short way if you don't have time. You know, we did it in basically within about a half an hour or less. You can recite however many mantras you have time to do. Once you do it kind of regularly, you just bring the Chenrezig to mind. You know what he looks like now, one face, two arms. You imagine this radiant being in front, bring him to your crown. The light comes out from his heart, invoking all the holy beings. Like that, empowering him, and then the light coming down through your crown, bringing compassion. I've sometimes done this practice, honestly, in my car, like in a parking space where I was suddenly agitated or something, or I saw something. It's very accessible, nicer to do in the quiet of your own home. And I'm sorry, during the mantras, I was looking for some of the current dedications Rinpoche gave us, but which we'll do also at the end. And just as a brief dedication right now, may any benefit from doing this practice help us hold our hearts and minds open to loving kindness and great compassion as much as we're able. And may it benefit us to help us get enlightened quickly so we can benefit all living beings. And then I'd like to go back to the 8 verses, verse 6. When one whom I have benefited, or in whom I have placed great trust and hope, harms me or treats me in hurtful ways without reason, may I see that person as my precious teacher. We talked about this a little bit when we're irritated with someone, because again, it is that person that helps us practice patience. And we really don't get to practice patience until we find a challenging person or a challenging situation. So it's a way of welcoming problems. And that seems to be a pretty big stretch for the mind, to welcome problems, because we don't want problems. But the thing is, in samsara's nature, in the very first motivational prayer we read today, samsara's nature is going to keep rearing its head, and that means suffering will appear on your horizon. Okay, until you become very highly realized. As long as it appears, what are my options of what to do with it? And if we want to keep shrinking away from it, denying it, repressing, getting depressed or anxious or lashing out at others, why don't we try to work with it in a constructive way? And so I realized this is a situation that can help me practice resilience, flexibility, open-heartedness, patience. That's going to always benefit us in the face of samsara. Verse 7, in brief, may I offer both directly and indirectly all help, happiness, and benefit to all beings, my mothers, and may I secretly take upon myself all of their harmful actions, pain, and suffering. And one thing, just to go back to verse 6 for a moment, is I wanted to mention that when we're holding somebody as inherently bad, they're always like this, independent of any causes or conditions that got them like that, independent of their parts or the mind labeling on a valid basis of designation. If anytime we're holding somebody concretely as other or enemy, those of you that have some teachings on emptiness, you want to realize that if that person exists like that for all time, unchanging, the way inherent existence works is they're, in a sense, frozen in time and space. They're always going to be that way. And everyone, as a result, would have to see them that way. But people that sometimes you don't like, isn't it interesting how somebody else really likes them? So you can see how there's no concrete, independent nature of them being cruel or mean or stupid or idiotic, because everyone would have to see them that way and they don't. So that's another way to deflect and dissolve those edges that we make around our lives, the constructs that we hold so rigidly to. When I might have a certain view of someone in a certain way, and that view has a valid perception for me. and I'm sorry, a valid perspective for, like I am seeing a person say a certain thing. There's a validity, and somebody next to me might say, yes, I saw them say the same thing, you know, and they're also agreeing with you that that might seem to be a stupid response, for instance. Why would they be saying that? But not everybody views them the same way. So I have to kind of poke at my own views and say, I have a certain view of that, and that view is created by the karmic seeds I have in my consciousness. Those karmic seeds cause me to see a situation or a person in a certain way. Okay, but that's only part of the story. And as long as I don't have a direct perception of emptiness, I'm not getting the whole story. So can I at least engage with the story, that my story may not be entirely accurate? I am seeing something from my perspective, yes, that is there, but it's not the whole story. So as a result, that gives me a little intersection there of patience, of resilience, of flexibility, of maybe there's another way to look at this. Maybe there's a beneficial thing that will come out of this. I always like to find the silver lining. There always seems to be a silver lining like that. So that was a little bit more in verse 6. There's no inherently harmful being. It is a certain perspective. If I'm seeing them as harmful, that happens to be the results of negative karmic seeds in my consciousness. That's all. If I want to respond to it in a negatively reactive way, I'm planting more negative seeds in my consciousness that will result in more suffering and harm for me in the future. If I want to understand and notice the nature of it being disturbing for me, take a deep breath. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Well, that's samsara's nature, but I don't need to respond negatively from there. I can notice the discomfort, take another deep breath. I inhale, I'm uncomfortable. I exhale, I'm uncomfortable, period. I don't need any over elaboration on that. Sometimes things are not fixable. I'm just observing right now. Discomfort, that's all. The discomfort most probably is not going to kill me, but I don't need to respond negatively from there and create more discomfort for me. And actually, with number 6, may I see that person as my precious teacher? Wow, they're allowing me to do this mindfulness practice right now. They're allowing me to expand the compassion in my heart when I can. Why? Because they're forcing me to do it. If I choose to step up to this task, I don't get to exercise that when everyone around me is easy and friends with me. But this person's showing me where I need to practice. Thank you to that precious teacher. That's verse 6, a little bit more in verse 6. Verse 7, okay, this is kind of the heart of the Mahayana, and it's a bit radical, okay? Can I both indirectly, offering this help and happiness to benefit all beings, all mother sentient beings, that's why it says my mothers, meaning mother sentient beings. The big teachings on bodhicitta start with, as the 7-point cause and effect method to develop bodhicitta starts with not only a basis of equanimity, but it starts with all beings have been my mother, because there's a beginningless nature to the mind. So we've had countless rebirths, countless mothers. So if I'm just thinking about all my mothers, meaning all living beings, could I secretly take upon myself their harmful actions, pain, and suffering? I want to take on their suffering, offering them benefit and happiness. This is kind of the crux of Tonglen practice. And it was initially a secret. It says, I secretly take upon myself. It was a secret practice from Master Shantideva, originally from the Buddha. The reason it was secret, most people in our world system, if you said to them, I'd really like to take on the suffering and offer happiness. I'd like to take on and I'd like to get the virus myself and give everyone my health and happiness. Okay, you're not taking on their cancer or their virus. All you're doing is using it to chip away at your self-cherishing thoughts. That's what we're letting it harm, the self-cherishing thoughts only. It's the only thing we want it to harm. That's what keeps us from being ultimately happy, okay? And then as I chip away with my self-cherishing, it leaves me a more spacious, open, heart, and mind. And from there, I think of offering happiness and benefit to others. Notice your own mind in that exercise. If you can keep that thought going today, just verse 7, working on that, notice how much more spacious and happy you might feel. Check your own mind. You have to do the exercise and check your mind. You have 8 verses, so you could take the first 7, take one a day for the next week. Work on one a day where you walk around with verse 7 for the day and you try to think about it. Maybe you print it out and put it on your refrigerator and you check in and you go, oh, I'm on verse 7 today. That's right. You read something in the news and you go, well, what if I could take all these leaders trying to deal with this stuff? What if I just kind of took on that, let it chip away at my self-cherishing, and offered them all the ease of my life, my simple little life taking care of me and my family. Just think about that and you use that for a day and notice how your mind is. Probably more peaceful, absolutely happier, calmer, and then more space for you to think about how you can help others. Please check yourself. And verse 8, in conclusion, may I keep all of these practices undefiled by stains of the 8 worldly concerns, which it says here, gain and loss, pleasure, pain, praise and blame, fame and dishonor, and by recognizing the emptiness and illusory nature of all existing things, may I be liberated from the bondage of attachment and mistaken views of reality. So that's a nice reminder about keeping us away from the manipulation of the 8 worldly dharmas. But just as a closing to that, and I'd like to open up the mics if it's possible. Any questions, any comments on anything I mentioned today, anything about the practice, the mantras, anything like that.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Thank you for the wonderful teaching. And my question is, when we're talking about vigilance of the mind and watching our afflictions, Shantideva has these military metaphors, which I know are appropriate for the times, about destroying the foe and all of this stuff. Is that appropriate to really kind of see yourself destroying the afflictions, or do you recommend just self-compassion, breathing, or somewhere in the middle? Because I've been playing around with some more assertive visualizations when it comes to dealing with the afflictions that arise in the mind. So I was just wondering what your take on that was.
On each individual. And if you're feeling that you need a gentler approach, then work on it with more compassion. If you feel like there's something that you really need to step up a little bit more, it may be, in a sense, ultimately we are trying to, and I'll put it this way, eliminate is a word I use a lot, eliminate negative afflictions in our mind. So for some people, they might feel they relate more to destroying them in their mind. For some people, it may be acknowledging them and then using antidotes. So I think certain ones at different times call for different kind of patterns. Like for me, for instance, for sometimes there might be, I might get irritated and I'm kind of like, okay, and I can use humor with irritation. But if it starts to get stronger, I might, in my mind, kind of feel like I need a little bit more forceful approach. If I find there's a repetitive angry habit and I'm just like, enough of this, So I think it really depends on the individual and like that. Sure. Any other questions, or could I ask for just in our our closing times, we've got a few more minutes. Can I just ask Gina Canisi, who is a nurse in Florida, she's listed here, it's Lisa Elizabeth Mitchell, who is an EMT and nurse, and okay, Gina her screen is stuck, she can't access the microphone. Okay, Gina's saying, this is instructions from Gina, because I wanted to ask if they have anything to give us from their healthcare perspective. If I could just read, Gina's comment is, she said, just wash hands, try to keep them off your face, and practice healthy social distancing. She's working in a high-risk unit, and she'll be in self-quarantine outside of work. Oh, I see, until further notice. So you're not going into the hospital right now. Is that right, Gina? Can you nod your head, or? She can't go into the hospital right now. Okay. So, so that's one experience. Lisa, do you want to unmute and comment? Oh, Gina, did you just get unmuted? Anything you want to add? No. Okay. Please take care, my dear. Yeah. Lisa, anything you'd like to add from your experience?
Just to pray, just lots and lots of prayers. I work tonight, and I've been isolating after I leave because I'm the first person that contacts and interviews out of the whole hospital, out of every single person. And so just, you know, this is a perfect time for me to be doing this practice, and I probably need to be doing it a couple times a day just for patients, you know, and that kind of stuff. But people are just really in quite an interesting state. This has got everybody up in the arms, and our unstabler people are really unstable. So just to pray for everybody. Now, healthcare workers as well.
Yes, so I think, thank you so much. So you're a triage nurse, is that correct?
Correct. I'm the first. What they've done is they've moved me around to the very front of the hospital. So if you come into Halifax or Daytona, no matter what, you will stop and talk to me, and I asked you all those questions and decide whether or not, pretty much based on those questions, whether or not you can come into the hospital or not. Or
okay, so that's a pretty...
We send you back home. They have tents out back now for us here. So they'll send you around to the tents and that kind of stuff. So.
Can I ask, do you have proper gear? Is there enough, like, are you wearing the N5 mask and all that?
I'm not using that mask. I wear a general mask, just a regular mask. But I've been off the last 2 days, and it changes every single day. So I'll be curious to see what's happening tonight when I go in. And I won't be here tomorrow. I may try to report it because I come off duty. I work night shift, so I come off duty in the morning. I don't sleep because it's just so chaotic. As much as normally I would probably not sleep, but I have to be back tomorrow. And so, but yes, they've taken really good care of us. That we have a meeting every morning. They've been really good about keeping us updated. But the changes, it's such a dynamic and fluid thing that they're doing their best, you know, and it's just, yeah, it's quite challenging.
So you are what I consider a pretty important person there. You're the first person they get to that is, and you're really, you know, basically exposing yourself to, you know, so thank you for that heartfelt service. And Gina Canisi also said she is going into the hospital for her shifts, and then she has to go right home because she's in a high risk unit. So she can't go anywhere else. She can't talk to anybody. So it could be at some point, people in her area, she might need like food delivered or something like that if she can't get to the store. So that might be something to consider for the people that know Gina from Tuptenkunga Center. What kind of support does she need to keep doing the work that she's doing? So I think anybody like that in your area that you know, that would be great. And the other thing I'd like to say in closing, and thank you to both of you for feeding in, and thank you to all of you for taking care in your communities, is I would like to add one other thing. And I know that, I think there was like a $20 registration fee for the center for this session, which I appreciate. But I'd like to say, I don't need particular offerings, but our centers are struggling right now. They're closed. We may have had like more people that turned up in person had I been there in person for when I was supposed to come down yesterday. So if you can, if you have a little bit more and you want to make a donation to Tuptenkunga Center or any other local center you're connected with, I think most of you connected between Namdroling and Tuptenkunga, please think about that now. I can't tell you how helpful those donations are right now, whether the centers are helping to support local communities, to keep the center open, to keep the center to be able to offer these Zoom calls and these Zoom classes, and we can continue this. So please consider that. I know everybody might be out of work and they're struggling financially and the stock market crashed and blah, 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 and all these things, of course. But the fact that we have the support and we have a home and we have enough food right now. And so if that's the case, think about what you might be able to do for the centers. So that would be a really huge request on my behalf, like of what I would love so we can continue this. What I'd like to do in closing is to read some dedications that came from one of the practices, again, Rinpoche has recommended, called the prayer Liberating Sakya from Disease, which has us reciting Om Mani Padme Hum as part of that. So we did that. And what I'd like to do is read this prayer from that practice. So we're in a sense, we've included a couple main practices right now. If you can just close your eyes and reflect. May all the diseases that sadden the minds of sentient beings, that result from karma and temporary conditions, such as the harms of spirits, illnesses, and the elements, not occur in the realms of the world. May whatever sufferings there are from life-threatening diseases that, like a butcher leading a being to be slaughtered, separate the body from the mind in a mere instant, not occur in the realms of the world. May all embodied beings be unharmed by acute, chronic, and other infectious diseases, the mere sound of whose name terrifies beings, as though they had been placed inside the mouth of Yama, the Lord of Death. May all embodied beings be unharmed by the 80,000 classes of harmful interferers, the 360 evil spirits that harm suddenly, the 424 diseases, and so forth. May whatever sufferings there are due to disturbances of the four elements, depriving the body and mind of every pleasure, be totally pacified, and may the body and mind have radiance and power and be endowed with long life, good health, and well-being. By the compassion of the gurus and the triple gem, by the power of the dakinis, dharma protectors and guardians, and by the strength of the infallibility of karma and its results, may these many dedications and prayers be fulfilled as soon as they are made. And just in echoing, and that's something, a nice dedication you could read every day, in echoing something Lisa just said, many of you are aware, I'm sure, that when these things happen, a lot of this happened after 9/11, I remembered, those that are a little bit mentally challenged right now or imbalanced or suffering from some chronic illnesses, they seem to get toppled even more during a time like this. So you may want to, if you know any people like that in your community, reach out to them via phone, email, texting, messaging, FaceTime, all those video chats you can do to just keep them connected in that way so that they know there's people that care about them. I think that's a really helpful way to support our communities so people like that do feel that people are thinking about them and there's a connection, and keeping them as balanced as possible. Any last comments, anything anyone would like to add? Yes, Lisa?
I don't have a copy of whatever you're reading from. Where can I get that, or how can I go about getting a copy of the whatever you guys have pamphlet? I don't.
It looks like Nicole shook her head. So Tuptenkunga has put some stuff, has sent some emails. Maybe if you can, Nicole, somehow get that to Lisa of what those practices are, or the links that link right to those practices. And then I know that several of those little practice booklets you can click on, takes you to the FPMT shop, and many of them are offered by donation. So you can download the PDF by following those instructions quite easily. And then I literally have them on my phone, and every day I just open them up and do them. And you can make a donation to them of $0 or $5 or whatever you want, like that.
Thank you, Venerable Amy. And I just wanted to say too, yes, so you should have them, everybody should have the practices emailed to you already. So if you don't, please check your email first and then let me know, and I'm going to get those to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience getting this started. And this teaching has been recorded, and so hopefully I will put it maybe on Facebook after it's uploaded, and so that will be available for anybody to see after here. We'll keep you posted on the details of that. And also, thank you all for your donations for this teaching. We really, really do appreciate it. And also just want to let people know, like Gina and Lisa, and we have another student, Christina, that just joined us from California, and she is a healthcare worker too, that we are offering these teachings to healthcare workers or people in need for free as well too. Like, that's our little gift from Tube Kunga. It's the least we can do. So please let us know. Email me if you know someone who wants to join these. The only thing, we just have a limit of 100. But, you know, we didn't have to worry about that today, but in the future, so, you know, you'll want to register first, and, but don't hoard those registration spots in case other people do want to sign up. And yes, if we could do this practice more often, Venerable Amy, it was lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for making the format.
If anyone has any other questions, just email us, okay? Thank you.
So again, in conclusion, just may we dedicate once again, whatever benefit, whatever positive energy this time together has created. You can again access the recording once Nicole makes that available, so you can just join in, do the practice again if you'd like, and may it benefit our hearts and minds, getting us quickly enlightened so we can benefit all living beings, and also for the long lives of our precious teachers, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And may they live countless eons, and may all of you be safe and healthy.
Thank you. You too.
And we're back tomorrow, 10 to noon. 10 to noon is kind of self-compassion techniques. We'll talk a little bit, somewhat similar, but self-compassion, and a little bit more of those kind of practices in challenging times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything you need, let me know, Nicole.
Well, a donation of $500,000 would be helpful.
I need the donation.
Bye, my dears. Please take care.
All right, and Rebecca did say, please check your spam. She has sent everyone the emails with the practice, okay? Have
Okay.
a great day.
Thank you.